Based on a true story, In Pursuit of Righteousness is a heart-rending story of abuse of power in a corporate organization. In the story, Pam, a senior HR executive who has just joined a reputable organization, is soon caught up in the highest level, unimaginable, nightmarish, degrading and inhuman treatment of herself and other subordinates by a superior, Ian, her immediate superior in the HR department. The battle lines are drawn between Pam and Ian as the latter spiritedly confronts the bully boss to assert her rights and those of colleagues in the department. The book explores some deep insights on how to create the best human resource practices and professionalism in corporate leadership and management. It also shares survival strategies and options for subordinates reporting to bully bosses. Robert Mandeya caught up with the author Regina Tendayi to get her insights, experience and motivation in coming up with such a revealing manuscript on corporate maladies and subsequent negative impact on share value on business.
Okay, I'm here with Regina Tendayi, the author of the book In Pursuit of Righteousness. Tendayi, welcome.
Thank you very much, Robert.
Who is Regina Tendayi, and why did you decide to write this book?
Thank you, Robert. Regina Tendayi is professionally a human resources management professional with more than 20 years experience within the human resources management function. On a personal note, in terms of my personal values, I believe in professionalism, I believe in respect for the individual, I believe in empathy, and the guiding question that I always ask myself in all my interactions with people is, if it was me in this situation, how would I want to be treated? And that's how I treat other people. And why did I write this book? There are two key reasons why I wrote this book. I didn't write it as a commercial book to just sell it and make money, but I wrote it to raise awareness on two key factors that I actually found that most organizations, they don't live up to. Number one, the issue of bullying at the workplace. Most people, they feel that bullying, or they think that bullying is only found at school, but you realize that bullying is also very present at the workplace. And most organizations, they don't have means and ways, or they don't have clearly cut out procedures that staff can follow if they find themselves being bullied by their bosses. That's on one side. On the other side, what prompted me to write this book, you find that there's a character called Esther. Esther is a character that's living with disability. And most organizations, you realize that they talk of embracing diversity. But in this book, you realize that at times, people just talk about diversity, but they don't mean it. If you read the character Esther and how she was treated, very, very painful way. So I'm trying to raise awareness as well on the issue of people living with disability. You find that in Zimbabwe as a country, I've actually worked for many organizations. Yes, they talk about diversity, but you find that most organizations do not have facilities that are suitable for people living with disabilities. Basic things like they've got a ground floor and a first floor. There is no elevator. They don't have suitable ablution facilities. The facilities that are there are meant for you and me. But for people living with disabilities, it leaves a lot to be desired.
Is this a personal experience?
Thank you, Robert. As the book states, In Pursuit of Righteousness, it's based on a true story, on chilling matters that do happen within the corporate world. And as HR practitioners, we should take cognizance of the key issues that I'm trying to flag out in this book in terms of corporate maladies that do happen within the corporate setup. You will find that in terms of the issue of personal experience, I've actually traveled the world over. I've worked within Zimbabwe and outside Zimbabwe. as an HR professional. And from my experience working in different environments, I've actually come to realize that human resources management is a key strategic function or an enabler that allows the organization to achieve its strategic objectives. Because without people, you won't be able to deliver. You can have machines, you can have state-of-the-art systems, but you need people to deliver on your strategic goals. So HR is very strategic, and organizations, they should be aware that as a strategic area, there are key issues that take place, key challenges. And in this book, I'm trying to flag out the challenges as well as the ways out in terms of the solutions.
You know, quite interesting, you say it's in pursuit of righteousness, and I was quite taken aback by the title. One would think you're writing about Christianity, Christian values and things like that. What really prompted you to come up with this title?
Within the corporate setup, as we talk of people, we are talking of people that come to the workplace from a diverse background. They've got beliefs, they have got systems, they have got traditions that they believe in. So they bring all this diversity to the workplace. And as a person who's leading people, you ought to then make sure that in whatever you do it in the right way, in terms of aligning whatever you're doing to the labor laws, in terms of aligning whatever you're doing to the values of the organization, in terms of aligning everything that's happening within the HR department so that the organization achieves its strategic objectives.
And when I was going through your book, Tendayi, I got caught up by this statement: bad things persist because good people do nothing to get things right. Can you shed light on this assertion?
Thank you very much. You realize that within the corporate setup as well, as people are being managed, as people are being led, there are a lot of things that are happening within their nuclear departments. And based on the leadership style of the person who's leading that department, you will realize that there could be abuse of power that will be taking place from the leader. There could be mismanagement that will be taking place. And because of job insecurity, because of people's backgrounds in terms of culture, that when someone is a senior to you, you don't quite face up to them and talk about issues. But you realize that in the corporate environment, it's a professional setup. And as things do happen, people have to actually rise up to talk about, certain things that are happening that they're not happy with. But in most cases, because of job insecurity, fear of discrimination, fear of victimization, people don't speak out.
And also in the book, Tendayi, we have a character Pam going through quite some horrendous experience under her boss. What advice can you give to people who could be going through similar experiences that Pam has been going through under a immediate superior? How can they protect themselves from bully superiors?
Yes, indeed. The character Pam is going through bullying, and bullying by its nature involves a boss demeaning you in the presence probably of your colleagues, a boss shouting insults at you, a boss showing complete disrespect for you as a human being. And this is happening day in, day out. And if people read this book, they will be able to actually realize that there are so many ways out in terms of managing bully bosses.
And how can employees deal with work-related stress, particularly caused by such bully superiors?
One thing that I came to realize in terms of working with people and as a leader is that most people, they don't actually leave their jobs because they are running away from a culture or what is happening within the organization, they actually run away from bosses. And you will realize that because of the fears that I have alluded to earlier on, discrimination, victimization, people do not quite face up to bully bosses, but it then causes a lot of stress to them. And the stress can even affect not only your work relationships, but even at home, it does affect. And if people read this book, they will actually realize that the character Pam and a whole lot of other characters who were reporting to this bully boss, they went through a lot in terms of stressful situations. And I've recommended telltale signs in terms of how you can pick very quickly that you are now being stressed and how you can then manage the stress.
Okay, thank you. And then you talk also about values and mission statements, and you're saying most of these organizations simply hang up these values and mission statements on the walls, but do not practice them or live them. How can this be achieved, in your opinion? How can people really live their values?
Robert, values define the way organizations should actually operate in terms of the how they deliver service. And you will notice that it is actually practically true that most organizations, they do have excellent values, but they are stuck on the walls. And before you know it, they become part of that wall because no orientation is taking place on the staff that should actually be living those values. So in this book, what I've also done is to guide chief executives, managing directors, people leaders on how to actually ensure that they entrench those values so that they're actually lived by the people that are supposed to live the
and
values.
Whose responsibility is it to really make sure that these things are lived out?
All the employees are responsible to make sure that they live the organization's values. By signing a contract with an organization, basically an employee is saying that they are agreeing to the terms and conditions of their employer. The leaders, whoever is leading, supervisor, manager, MD, they are responsible to ensure that whatever is stuck on the wall is actually happening. And if it doesn't happen, they then have to follow certain procedures to ensure that those values are lived.
And now, we've got shareholders as owners of organizations. And how can these people guard against abuse of power by directors whom they appoint to run the affairs of their organizations?
There are so many several ways that shareholders can actually detect or depict that things are not happening according to their dictates in terms of the values, in terms of the strategies, in terms of the vision, the mission of the organization. And in this book, what I've tried to do is to also flag out how shareholders can actually detect very early in terms of whether their vision, their mission is being lived according to their standards. So I would encourage shareholders to also read this book.
Okay. So do you think there could be some internal institutional frameworks that organization can institute that would protect everyone within the organization?
Definitely there is. You'll find that the world over they talk of corporate governance, but they are talking of corporate governance from the point of view of, in most cases, things to do with, how you direct or lead in terms of the finances, in terms of your general conduct, but they don't quite get down to the ethics of managing people and how people should be managed, and if they are not managed properly, what recourse can employees take. So in this book I've also provided some key leads in terms of the general corporate governance, ethics issues around people management.
And you also highlight some performance reviews that companies can actually adopt. maybe giving some examples, what method of performance reviews would you recommend organizations to adopt on staff which are abuse proof?
Okay.
That's the period.
Thank you very much. In terms of performance management systems, Robert, there are so many of them. Any system is as good as its users. So I wouldn't specifically say go for this system, but what I've done is in this book, I've also indicated systems that personally I've worked with them, and they've proven to actually be, to some extent, provide some indicators to the shareholders, to the chief executive as he's sitting in his office, that things are happening or not. There are also many other ways that the organization can actually use to dictate that things are not okay. For example, I've indicated in this book things to do with employee engagement surveys, things to do with culture audits. All those, if they are done objectively by independent consultants, they can actually be a pointer to the culture that the boss is actually living as they lead the people in their departments.
Yeah, you particularly also are touching on leadership issues.
Yes.
In your book. And there are certain styles of leadership that you're also alluding to. And what would you say are the best leadership styles organizations can emulate that would encourage productivity and a healthy working environment?
Thank you, Robert. In terms of leadership styles, you find that leadership in its nature, it's situational. So you ought to lead people according to the requirements or the dictates of the situation that you are facing at any particular point. So I would say, I've indicated actually in the book a number of styles that you can actually use. If you follow the character PEM, if you follow, the subordinates, you will realize that the leadership style that was used was dependent on the situation that the characters were facing.
And you're also talking about constructive dismissal.
Yes.
What are the telltale signs employees or victims can identify of this practice if it's happening to them?
Okay. Constructive dismissal is happening day in, day out. And basically, constructive dismissal, we are talking of a situation where the employer makes the employment situation so difficult for the employee such that they are forced to resign under duress. And there are a number of telltale signs in terms of constructive dismissal. And in this book, what I've done is because the character PEM ended up taking their case to the courts. So in terms of the steps that are supposed to be followed, or the telltale signs, they are all indicated as you read this book.
Okay, you are talking about taking issues to the courts. We find the character PEM goes through a painstakingly slow legal process, very frustrating, and which at some point one would, in a normal environment, would give up. What advice would you give to those who would want to pursue the legal channels for recourse?
Thank you. Yes, the legal channels, they can be time consuming, they can be very expensive. I've provided a lot of advice in terms of the do's and don'ts as people work through their cases through the courts, but my best advice that I can provide is listen to your legal counsel. They will provide you technical advice that would help you throughout as you follow through your case.
Yes, what role? We're also touching on professional bodies where most of people like you subscribe to. And what role do you think these professional associations can play in trying to promote good work ethic and to promote good leadership in organizations where you people who are subscribing to those organizations will be going back to?
Thank you. Professional bodies, they should actually play a very critical role in terms of providing minimum standards or qualifying standards for any new members or existing members, such that If one is found wanting from a professional conduct point of view, they should not be part or be allowed to be a member within any professional body.
And in your opinion, what would you say is true leadership?
True leadership to me means you are dealing with people. People have got feelings, and you should lead with your heart and your head. So you have to strike a balance between the two. You should not just use your head as you are leading, or just your heart, but you need to balance the two.
Okay. Now tell us, where can one access this book if he wants to get one?
Thank you. This book can be accessed directly from me. I've actually got a Facebook page and a LinkedIn page where there are more details in terms of my contacts and everything. And then it can also be found on Amazon. I've put it there as well. And it's available within Zimbabwe. If you go to Innovate Bookshops, this book is available.
Okay. Now, thank you.
Thank you very much, Robert.